Okay, so it's no secret that the Philadelphia Eagles have consistently had one of the best offensive lines in football for some time now, but after Jason Kelce decided to retire this offseason, there's more questions than ever surrounding the offensive line as they get closer to the 2024 season. However, there's still reason to believe that the Eagles O-line will be dominant and one of the best units in football this year, as they still have some bona fide stars leading the group who are expected to get even better this year, and they also have some very intriguing young guys that could be ready to truly break out this season. Plus, according to a recent report, there might just be an exciting battle brewing at one key position along the line, so let's break it all down. Plus, we also just got a major update on Sidney Brown, as he seems like he could be returning to the field very soon, so we're going to talk about all that and more in this video today, and we won't waste any time. Let's get straight into it. So let's start this video off with a prediction from a Philly legend. As ahead of the 2024 season, there is no question that the Eagles have insanely high expectations, with many hoping that this is the year that they can win their second Super Bowl title. An NBA Hall of Famer and Sixers legend Charles Barkley recently confirmed that he believes that, as he said this in a recent interview.
My Philadelphia Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. We're going to win the Super Bowl.
Okay. All right, that's a good one, Ian. Right. Ian, everybody save the tape. Ian, we're going to come back and we're going to check Charles again next year.
Now, honestly, I'm not fully sure how I feel about this, because if you watch the NBA, then you know all about Charles Barkley and his famous guarantees on the Inside the NBA show, and usually he's not the most reliable, but this year he did make a guarantee way back in December that did end up coming true.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Guaranteed.
All right.
The Boston Celtics are going to win the championship. Guaranteed. There it is.
What's the
the
date
first
today?
guarantee of the day.
12,
Guaranteed of the year.
what is this, 12-4?
Oh, my. How did y'all know? Thank you.
What's the date today? It's the 5th or the 4th?
I love it.
December
I love
4th.
it. I love
Celtics will win the championship, says the Chuckster.
So hey, he called who the NBA champions were going to be this year, so maybe he could have called who the Super Bowl champions will be too. And if the Eagles do win the Super Bowl, there is no doubt in my mind that the Birds' new superstar running back Saquon Barkley is going to be a big part of it. Speaking of which, Barkley recently received some incredibly high praise from one of the best running backs in NFL history in Jerome Bettis, as when asked to build his ideal back, Bettis said this.
You're to build your ultimate running back using only active players. Let's start with speed.
Well, I don't even have to build one. I got one, Saquon Barkley. I mean, just package him and let's ship him out to all 32 and we have a great one.
So again, that's some pretty high praise for Barkley coming from a legendary running back, and it's just so awesome to hear that Barkley is thought of this highly by someone of Bettis' stature. And again, I always go back to the fact that it's still just so crazy to me that Saquon Barkley is a Philadelphia Eagle. I mean, I don't know how the league let that happen, because adding Barkley to this already insanely talented Eagles offensive unit just significantly increases their already extremely high ceiling, and it's going to make everyone around Barkley even better. And that perhaps is the most true for quarterback Jalen Hurts, as having Barkley in the backfield is only going to open things up in the passing game and also in the read option and RPO game for Hurts. And the addition of Barkley is just one of the reasons that I truly believe that Jalen could actually come out here and have a career year this season. And when he does, I just cannot wait to see what all the doubters have to say then, as Hurts has been getting a ton of criticism recently, whether it be as a player, with the most recent example of that being how Hurts was not even in the top 10 ranking among quarterbacks or the top 5 ranking of NFC quarterbacks by NFL coaches, execs, and scouts, which honestly, I just don't know how that's even possible. It just seems like a joke to me, because with everything that Hurts has accomplished in his career, there's just no way he's not a top 10 quarterback. But regardless of that, Hurts' leadership has also been criticized a lot this offseason, which again is just ridiculous to me, because when the Eagles went to the Super Bowl in 2022, all anyone could talk about was how great of a leader Hurts was. But now that they struggled to end last year, now all of a sudden it's an issue. But regardless of whether or not the criticism is warranted or not, Jalen has taken note of it and responded, as Lane Johnson was recently on Keyshawn Johnson's show, where he said this about Hurts, his leadership, and his offseason.
Man, he's just a tremendous worker, and I think, even this offseason, he has heard some of the stuff that's been said, and he's made a conscious effort to get closer with his teammates. Whatever guys think maybe missing, he's worked on. So maybe the best offseason he's had since he's been an Eagle.
So you gotta love that, because regardless of whether he needed to or not, Hurts becoming more vocal and connecting with his teammates certainly isn't a bad thing, and it can only help strengthen the Eagles' chemistry as they move towards the season. And one thing that the Eagles are going to have to work to build chemistry on this year is the tush push or the brotherly shove, as losing Jason Kelce certainly isn't ideal, as he was a huge part of why that play has been so successful for the past 2 seasons. And the loss of Kelce has actually led one former star lineman to believe that the Eagles are going to stop running the play entirely, with Brian Baldinger telling Bleeding Green Nation, quote, "You won't see a tush push without Kelce. He was the leader of that whole thing." And then he cited the fact that the Eagles have been good at the regular quarterback sneak even when Carson Wentz was the quarterback, and then finishing it off by saying, quote, I would be surprised if they continue doing it. Cam is capable of doing it, but there was no one better than Kelce doing that. And I gotta say, this is something that I just don't agree with. Because this play has been around 92% successful the past 2 years, and sure, losing Kelce hurts because he was a huge part of it and a big reason why it was so successful, but it also has to do with the fact that Jalen Hurts is one of the strongest quarterbacks in the entire NFL, and also just the way the Eagles coaches are coaching the play. So there's no doubt in my mind that the Eagles can still be successful with Cam doing it, and I just don't see why they'd stop running it, even without Kelce, because chances are it's still going to turn out to be pretty successful. But moving on to something else that Baldinger said, we switch our focus to the right guard position, as at this point, Tyler Steen's the clear favorite to start at that spot, with him getting the first team reps during spring practices and his locker being among the starting linemen, but Baldy believes that there's another very real candidate for the starting job. As he said, quote, Mekhi Becton had some knee issues in the past, but he has more power than anyone on the whole team. He's the best run blocker that the Eagles have. If he's healthy, he will play right guard for them. They're working him in there. I would keep an eye on Mekhi. He's on their depth chart backing up Mailata right now at left tackle. He's a big guy. I think Becton has a shot at being right guard. Right now, Tyler Steen probably has the advantage there because he knows the Eagles system. And this is very interesting, as Mekhi Becton is someone who did get a lot of hype during the spring, with Lane Johnson saying that Becton maybe had one of the best off seasons of anybody on the team, and with Mekhi learning multiple positions, including guard. And Becton is also someone who has a lot of raw ability, and he did also say he has hopes of finding a long-term home with Philly. So who knows, maybe during camp he could impress enough to the point where he makes it an interesting battle at the right guard spot. That being said though, I just don't really see him winning the job, with Tyler Steen being the very clear favorite at this point, with him being a draft pick of the Birds just a couple years ago, and also with Jeff Stoutland praising him earlier in the offseason, saying he has qualities similar to former star Eagles guard Brandon Brooks. But that being said, what do you guys think? Could Mekhi Becton possibly win the starting right guard job over Tyler Steen? But now, moving over to the other guard position, we look at left guard Landon Dickerson, who's become a straight up star after 3 years in the league, and he was recently given some very high praise as NFL coaches, execs, and scouts ranked him 6th among interior offensive linemen in the NFL, and they expect him to be even better by this time next year, as the article from ESPN says, quote, Dickerson, fresh off a 4-year, $84 million contract extension this offseason, is ready to play like the highest paid and eventually best guard. Quote, I believe he's the best run-pass combo guard in the league, an NFL coordinator said. Some might be slightly better in the run game, but one-on-one in pass pro, Landon is significantly better. Considering most of Philly's pass pro is drop back, I give more credibility than someone who's in play action and bootleg protections more often. While Dickerson's 95.7 pass block win rate is stellar, his 81.2% run block win rate led all guards. Philly's system helps some with that, as 3 Eagles linemen rank in the top 7 in this category, but it's impressive nonetheless. Quote, he will be the premier guard after this year, especially if Philly wins, an NFL personnel evaluator said. So that definitely is a bold statement to say that Landon's going to become the premier guard in the NFL after this season, but I don't really doubt it. I mean, Landon became a star quick after being drafted in the 2nd round in 2021, and like the article said, I mean, the numbers don't lie, as Landon's one of the top guards in multiple areas, whether it be pass protection or run blocking, which shows just how versatile he is, and he also has all the physical tools, as he's got great size and he's super athletically gifted, and he's still also very young, so he should only get better as the years go on, and he's going to be a staple of this Eagles team for years to come. And the same goes for Bird's left tackle and Landon's best friend in Jordan Mailata, as he's also still fairly young and got paid a huge contract extension recently as well, and he's also one of the best tackles in football already, with him being ranked 7th among tackles in the same survey of coaches, execs, and scouts, with his elite run blocking grade being one of the major strengths of his game, and his elite athletic ability being one of the most impressive things about him, as his mobility at the tackle position at an outstanding 6'8" and 366 pounds is just incredible, and he's also growing into more of a leadership role this offseason with the team, so safe to say, the left side of the Eagles offensive line is in great hands. And then you got the vet leader and future Hall of Famer Lane Johnson on the right side, who is still one of, if not arguably the best tackle in the game, as he was recently ranked 5th in the same ranking as Mailata, which personally I still think that might be a bit low, but regardless, Lane is still playing at an extremely high level towards the end of his career, and for the Eagles offensive line as a whole, it's just a blessing to still have 3 bona fide stars as a part of that unit, even with Jason Kelce retiring. And that's not to say that there's no questions on the O-line, as like I mentioned earlier, the right guard position certainly is one of those question marks regardless of who ends up starting, and then of course you also have the center position with Kelce retiring, and the 3rd-year man Cam Jurgens ready to step into that role. But honestly, I do think that this is a little bit less of a question mark than a lot of people might think it is. As let's not forget that Cam Jurgens was handpicked by Jason Kelce to be his replacement, as his size and athletic play style are very similar to Kelce, so he should fit right into that spot. Plus, Jurgens spent a year already starting at right guard in 2023, so he has starting experience at this point, and he was also pretty decent in that role. But he should be even better at center, because That is his natural position. Plus, he was also listed as one of the Eagles' breakout candidates for this year, so many others expect him to have a big year as well. And overall, even with the loss of the legend that is Jason Kelce, I think the offensive line is still going to be very good, if not great. And no, I'm not trying to say that it's going to be easy to replace him, but even if they take a little bit of a step back, I still think they have all the talent and coaching to be one of the best offensive lines in the league. But what do you guys think? Just how good will the Eagles O-line be this season? But now, moving over to the defensive side of the ball and another young player, we look at Sidney Brown, who seems to be getting very close to a return on the field, as he looks super healthy and his recovery seems to be going very smoothly 5.5 months after having surgery to repair his torn ACL. As he recently released this video where he's going through a drill, and he looks like he's moving pretty quickly and smoothly, so hopefully we get to see Sid back out there at some point during training camp, and he'll be able to make some sort of impact in Vic Fangio's defense. But what do you guys think? What kind of role do you envision for Sidney Brown this year? You can let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And also, just a little reminder, I am on vacation right now and I will be through this weekend, but as soon as I get back, training camp starts in just a couple days from then, and I want to be super locked in on that and covering everything. So if you don't want to miss any of that, make sure you subscribe, and also really importantly, turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos just like this. And also, while you're at it, make sure you drop a like to show some support. I greatly appreciate it. And also, if you want to watch another Eagles video, you can check this one out right here. And now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.